Hey, this is Andy Brown, and we're going to take a look at wait conditions. So, wait conditions is a way for you to basically set a timeout and say wait for a certain amount of time and wait for a particular number to be met. So, that is something that we can do. I'm just trying to think of what we could do this for. Probably for an auto scaling group, this would be a really good example. So, what I'm going to do is make a new folder here. We'll call this one wait conditions. And I know that we've done an ASG somewhere in this course, so it specifically using CloudFormation. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that under our ASG section to get us started here. Okay, we'll go down to our wait condition folder, if we can find it. There we go. We'll paste this in here. And I'll just rename this to wait. Let's take the echo out here. Wait conditions. And then we'll go to our template. And so this thing looks pretty good. I would say that what we're looking for here is, I'm just thinking about this for a moment, because we want to have our web server capacity, and that's probably going to be our desired capacity. So I want to go down here and look at our AHG configuration. We have max size and min size, but what I'm going to add here is a desired capacity. And for that, we're going to want to maybe reference a value because this will need to be coded. I'm going to change this to 3, and I'm going to make this as our web server capacity. All right. And then we will just close these tabs out here. And I'm going to go all the way to the top, and I'm going to change this or add this to have web server capacity. And since I haven't done a type other than string for forever, I'm going to go take a look this up here. So we'll say parameter types CFN. And in here, I just think that there's probably one called number. I can't manage integer. Is it number? There it is, number. Okay. And I'll go back and we'll just say number. I'm going to default that to 2. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to create a wait handle. So if we go over to here, I'll just type in wait handle CFN. And, well, actually, I want the wait handle condition. So actually was what I had right here just a moment ago. I'm not sure if they have an example. We'll just go ahead and grab this. And we'll say wait handle. So now we have our wait handle. And then we need our wait condition. This is going to be very similar, except it's going to just have this here. And then we have to say what it depends on. So this is going to depend on our actual auto scaling group, which is ASG, because it has to create this before it creates the auto scaling group. The auto scaling group has to exist before the wait condition. Otherwise, the wait condition is not going to make any sense. Now we need some properties on here. And it's nice that it's trying to autofill it, but that's not what I want. We are going to need to reference our handle. So we'll do that here. So it'll be wait handle. And then we want to set a timeout. So I'll put this to 300. And then I want a count. So this will reference our web server capacity. And so now this is all set up. Expected number. Did we not make that a number up here? Expected string, expected number. What are you talking about? It's a number right here, and then I give it a number. So some of these things are a bit misleading. I think this actually wants a string. I'm not sure why, but we'll change that there. And then here it says expected number, but it is set as a number as it is indicated over here. So the question I'm wondering here is, if we launch this, it's going to launch one server, but if it's desired, I'm hoping that it will get to this one here. Let's just read about what it is. The desired capacity is the initial capacity of the auto-scaling group at the time of its creation and the capacity it maintains to maintain. Okay, so the idea is that it will launch up 2, and once it reaches 2, then it will be considered ready, okay? So I think that is good. And I'm going to CD back here, and we're going to go ahead and try this wait condition out. Hopefully all of our code is correct. And, you know, we could probably make this a little bit larger. So what I'm going to do, you don't have to do this if you don't want. You can leave it as 2 if you want. But I'm going to change this to say 6. Sorry, the max size, and I have this backwards, by the way. We'll have MIT 1 and max size 6. I'm going to change this to 5 servers. And the idea is that I want 5 servers to spin up. And only when 5 servers have spun up should this be considered ready. Okay, so we'll go ahead and delete this. But the idea is that if we did not do that, then this thing might be ready prior to the number of 5, if that makes sense. So that's the whole purpose of this wait condition. I'm just like tongue-tied talking about wait conditions. I'm not sure why. But we'll go ahead and refresh this, and we will now go and see if we can execute this change set. And so now it should wait until it's created. So I'm going to just wait here and pause the video because it's going to take a bit of time. And if it fails, we'll come back here and see what's going on, okay? All right, so this is still creating. It's taking its time. But while we're waiting, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the actual autoscaling group so we can see if it is trying to reach its desired capacity, which I'm hoping that it is attempting to do here. But let's go here on the left-hand side, and I'm looking for my ASG. And in here, we have our ASG. And we'll look at instance management, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're all healthy, which is great. We'll go back over to here. So I imagine that it must want to complete soon. And the last thing here we have is our wait condition. So our wait condition must be doing something. I'm curious if CloudTrail would show us anything with the wait condition. I'm not sure if it would, but I'm just curious to see what we could see there, because other than that, we wouldn't know what's going on here. I mean, there's something going on here. I'm not exactly sure what is. Oh, yeah. So here we have wait condition username. But what is this? So I'm curious if these are the wait conditions, because it says update instance information. And we have a lot of those. So I'm assuming that this is the wait condition pinging out and trying to find out if something has changed. That's what I think is happening here. But it's a little bit hard to tell. We can go ahead and maybe just look up what this thing is, update instance information. What is update instance information? AWS. SSM agent calls system manager service in the cloud every 5 minutes to provide heartbeat information. Okay, well, it's something. But it looks like it failed. Why did it fail? Let's go find out. The wait condition failed. Wait condition timed out. Received 0 conditions when expecting 5. Okay. So we'll go back over to here. And we'll look at this. And I guess I'll have to debug it, as I'm not exactly sure what else it would expect here. So just give me a second, okay? So I'm asking ChatGPT, and it's suggesting that maybe we are actually supposed to send the wait signal back. And that kind of makes sense, because how would it know? What to do if we didn't do that? So now I'm really curious if that's the case here. So let's go take a look at that and say wait conditions, CFN here, or wait conditions. Because how else would it know? So just give me a moment here. This is interesting. A wait condition requires a wait condition handle to set up a pre-signed URL that is used as the signaling mechanism. The pre-signed URL enables you to send a signal without having to supply your AWS credentials. All right. But what about the signal part? Oh, okay, here we go. And I was thinking, is like, how would you reference that in your user data? And so in here, we have signal URL. Maybe this is what I pick. In the template, the pre-signed URL can be retrieved by passing the logical name. For example, user data. But I guess my question is like, still, wouldn't you have to do more here? Like, wouldn't your script have to trigger it, or would it automatically know to run it with the signal URL? Let me read a bit more. All right, so reading a little bit more. I mean, there is a pre-signed URL that we could curl, but it seems like we can use CFN signal. So it is a helper script that allows us to trigger a success. The only thing I'm not certain about here, like in their example, is that they set the resource, and so what's the resource name? Is it always gonna be wait condition? It says resource logical ID, so that's gonna be the logical ID of what we want to trigger. And this just says wait condition. It doesn't say wait condition handle or wait condition condition. But what we'll do is we'll copy this, as this seems like this actually does make sense. I wasn't sure at first, but now I'm more confident that that could be correct. And so I'm going to go ahead and paste this in here. And since we are using Amazon Linux 2023 or a later variant, this should already be pre-installed. The question is, what resource are we providing here? Well, actually, ours is called wait condition, so it must be this one here. So maybe that's all we need to get this to work. That would be nice. So I'm just going to go ahead and tear this down. I guess the rollback is done. And so I'm hoping that this will now work. If it's just that one change, that'd be really nice. And we'll go ahead and execute this change set. And I'm just going to hang around here and I'll tell you if it works or not. So I'll just pause the video and be back here in a bit, okay? All right, looks like it failed. And we're probably having the same issue. I'm just gonna refresh this here. Let's just go here. Wait condition timed out. Receive 0 conditions when expecting 5. So, yeah, I really thought that would resolve our issue there. But if there's something wrong with it, how would we know? You know what I mean? Like, if there was something wrong. And it's not a very easy thing to debug, is it? Yeah. So I'm just thinking here, I mean, yeah, they're named the same. It has the stack name passed into here, so that's less of an issue. I'm not sure about the -e here. I guess we could take a look and see what that flag is for. That would be the exit code. Okay. Logical ID of the resource, etc. So yeah, let me go research this. One thing I noticed is that we might need to update our rule to actually have CloudFormation signal resource. I don't think it even did that up here. I didn't know that was even a thing, but I suppose that might be something we need to specify. So let's go back over to our template. And it'd be nice if I could just, okay, rewrite the rule to have the needed permissions, please. I really don't have to do that myself here today. We'll give it a moment here to generate out. And yeah, there we go. That looks good. Just gonna stop this. I just need this part here. So just I'll just take the whole thing. I'm gonna go back to here and we'll paste it in as such. And so now that was probably the missing thing. So I guess I'll go ahead and delete this. Just so it's a little bit faster, I'm just going to change this to 2. And then we'll change max size to 3. And we'll try to deploy this again. And we'll go back to here. And then hopefully this time it's going to work, okay? All right, so it is still failing. The challenge here is that it can be really hard to debug these instances, because how would we go about doing that? We would need an active EC2 instance to do that. So all I can think of is that I'll have to deploy this again. I'm gonna have to go in there and see what happens. So we'll go ahead and deploy it. And I'll have to pay attention very carefully here, because what I'm gonna need to do is get into that instance. So I'm gonna make my way over to EC2. I'm going to wait for an instance to become available. As soon as I see one, I'm going to log into it, okay? And while we're waiting for that, we might as well try to assemble the wait condition that we're going to use, because if we don't do that, we're going to have some issues here. So I'm going to go ahead and type in readme.md. I'm going to paste this in here. I know that the region is CA Central 1. The stack name is going to be whatever the stack name is going to be called. So this is create in progress. So this is the name of the stack. It's just called wait conditions. So we'll place that here. And I'm not sure what it's expecting for the exit code, but we'll leave that alone. And so what I want to do, again, go back here. And so we have those instances, and I want to be very quick, and I want to try to get into those, assuming it allows us to connect. Another thing that I could do, just so that I'm not running into an issue, I'm going to go over to our ASD, and maybe what I can do is detach one of these instances if I go quick enough. So if I go here, there should be a way to detach it. There we go. And I'll say detach. It'll be this instance here. It'll detach it. I'm going to go back over to instances. I'm going to search for its name. And I'm just going to say detached here, so I can just make sure I'm working with the correct one. I'm going to get out of this because I don't know if I've actually connected to the correct one. We'll go ahead and connect here. And it does take some time for this thing to check, so I'm just going to keep waiting here. I'm going to go ahead and type in sudo su-ec2user. So now I'm inside the instance. We'll make our way back over to here. And I believe that is Unix. I think that should work, the $sign question mark. I never remember what it is, but it's something. We'll hit enter and we'll see what happens. It says, could not open the CNF init logs for using SDR instead. CloudFormation initialized with endpoint, CA Central 1, signaling resource wait condition and stack, conditions with unique ID, status success. One validation error detected, conditions at stack name failed to satisfy the constraint. Member must satisfy the current regular expression. Okay. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what it's suggesting here, because it's saying validation error, one validation error detected value conditions at stack name. Oh, there's a $sign in there. It's not supposed to be there. Okay, let's try this again. We'll hit enter. And it says that signaling resource wait condition in wait conditions with unique ID failed. Okay. Why? Oh, signaling resource wait condition. So I guess the question is that resource created yet? Go back here. It says it's created. We have the wait handle, and then we have the wait condition. Signaling resource wait condition, stack wait condition with unique ID. I saw like it already exists, so maybe because we gave it the unique ID, it's not going to keep sending it. I thought it said already exists somewhere. CloudFormation initialized, CA Central 1, HTTPS, status failure. Wait condition, status failure. I guess I'll have to investigate here. I was looking at other examples, and a lot of people were just curling, and they weren't using this CFS signal, which I'm a bit confused about. But what I'm noticing here, I'm coming back here asking, okay, can we use the CFN signal for this, or is this not permitted? But I'm noticing that we have this wait condition handle.url here. And so I'm wondering if maybe what we have to do is pass in the wait condition URL. So it says a pre-assigned URL that you can use to signal success or failure of an associated wait condition. Now my question is, do we actually provide that in our example? And we don't. So without that value, how would it know to do that? So that is really interesting. But it's also interesting that nobody has tried to use CFN signal. It's almost like we're seeing copy pasta from all these creators. I'm actually really surprised on that. So, Okay, so we should supply that on the end, but the question is, how do we get that pre-signed URL? So we'll go back over to wherever that was, the stuff for this. The question is, how do I, so signal success, and then on the end here, we have this. So yeah, now I'm wondering, like, how do we get the pre-signed URL? So I'm going to say wait condition. And so that's the next thing I need to figure out, okay? Well, hold on. Didn't we see an example before where it had signed URL? So I think it was right in the docs. It actually told us. I remember it being, yeah, right here. So in here, we can get the signal URL from the wait condition. So that's how we could get it. So what I'm going to look up is this here, because now I'm thinking that this returns the signed URL by default. So if we go to return values, when you pass logical ID, the resource name is returned. No, that's not what I want. I want the actual URL. Okay. So come back over to here. Oh, my wait handle. My wait handle. Okay, so maybe it's the wait handle, because they said earlier that's the thing that creates the pre-signed URL, right? And it's not showing ref. When using reference, returns a pre-signed URL. Okay, great. So that's how we're going to get it. That's our missing piece probably. So I'm going to go back over to here. I'm going to see, check this. This has probably failed. It should have failed by now. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. We're going to go over to our detached EC2 instance, so we'll just terminate that. And so now what I'm going to do is we'll go to our, this is intrinsic functions. Do we have more than one of these open? Is that why I'm confused? Wait condition, yeah, back here. And I need to get that pre-signed URL. And so that pre-signed URL comes from referencing this one. So if I go here, and then we say wait condition, is that what it's going to return? And so this is something I'm not always confident about, because I'm like, well, wouldn't we have to do this? And we know that that doesn't work before, because we did that before. We had issues with that. So just give me a moment, okay? Yeah, I don't see how we're not going to end up using a join. So I'm going to go try using a join here. So this allows for multi-line, but if we do this function join, then everything here should end up like that. And so then I'll make a new line here. Hold on here. So we have function join, and this will join them separately here. We'll say function join new line CloudFormation. Line break. I wanted to do a line break. And so this is what I'm kind of thinking is like something like this. So we'll go back over to here. And so the first parameter has to be the delimiter. And then after that's an array of an array. So the way this will work is this will be the second parameter. And then we have to do another line here. I know that looks really weird, but that's what it is. I just know from experience. And if we do this, that should do what we want. The thing that is different is the fact that we have our wait condition, which we want to have here on the end. The problem I have now is that I actually need this line to be stitched together. Well, you know what? I don't need the server. We can just get this out of here, and this will make our life a lot easier. So that simplifies things. We do want the wait condition here because we want this to be on the end like this. And so I'm just trying to think how we can do this because I need to join one line, but then the other stuff doesn't necessarily have to be joined. So I'm going to try. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to try it. We're going to do a join here as well. And so this one's going to join a little bit differently because it's going to just make a space. And then the second parameter will be here. Getting some good experience here with CloudFormation. And then we're just going to keep doing this. And this. And this. And this. And this. And so then this has to be a ref. And this has to be a ref. This one's fine. This one we'll have to put on a new line, and this will have to be a ref. And so I'm hoping that that works. And this is quite the mess, but in my head, it looks like that is correct. So I'm going to just close out a few of these tabs so we're having a little bit less of an issue trying to figure out what's going on here. And so I'm going to try this again. We'll deploy this. And we have an issue. Nulls are not allowed in the templates. Where? So I'm going to ask ChatGPT to fix my user data template here, because I don't want to fiddle with this all day. Fix the user data to work correctly. I don't know if it really can, but I'll give it a shot and see if we save some time here. All right, ChatGPT was being really dumb, but maybe we can just reference the ref like this, and that will save us a considerable amount of effort. So what I'm going to do is just undo this. But I mean, this is how you would do a join. It just gets really complicated, and I just don't like how variably confusing this is. So I just want our lives to be easier. So I'm just going to undo this. And we'll go back to this big long one here. I'll put this back onto here. And I'll just take out the Apache server just so that there is less confusion. And it seems that we can just reference our wait handle as such. That's what they're telling me. But this is what I mean, where it's like, you'd think by now somebody would have written about this or done this before, but nope. I'm the first to do this, and it's going to be one of my videos, and it's not going to be on the internet. So I guess that's just me doing the extra effort here. But I think that this looks probably correct. We'll go ahead and try to deploy this now. And I'm hoping that this one works. So I'm going to go to change sets here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to EC2 instances, and I'm going to wait for these to appear. And when they do appear, I'm going to detach one, just as we did before, okay? So whenever that appears, yeah, okay. All right, so we have some instances running here. I'm going to make my way over to our auto-scaling groups, and I'm going to, why don't I see any here? Give us a nice refresh here. As I have to move very quickly for this to work, I'm going to go over to our instance management. I'm going to go ahead and detach this one. I'm just going to copy the name so I do not forget which one it is. Detach. And, well, here's the problem, though. We're not going to have the pre-signed URL because it's generated by it's passed along as a value. And so I'm not going to have access to it. So I actually can't just detach it and hope it works. So that was actually kind of pointless, what I just did. So I guess I'm just going to have to wait and see if it actually works. So it's either going to work or it's not going to work. Because if there's no way to get the pre-signed URL, how would we test that, right? We can go to our template and take a look, but notice that we can't see it. I guess the other thing I could have done is I could have outputted it in our outputs, but our outputs would not show until everything is done. So if this doesn't work, we'll just call this quits and we'll say, hey, we did our best and we have an idea of how this is supposed to work, but you know, either will work or it won't. So we'll just hang out here till we see the result. All right, so it's failed again. I'm sure we know what the error is. It's going to say the same thing. 0 conditions when expecting 2. And if we can't get that pre-signed URL, there's no way for us to broadcast that. So, you know, I'm just trying to think, like, what could you do? How could you debug this? Well, I guess the other thing you'd have to do is you'd have to echo out the value. So like in the user data, we could echo it out or save the results to a file. And then when we detach it, then we could go into that instance and then we could try to run it that way. That's the only thing I can think of. I really don't want to keep debugging this, but I guess I'll try one more time. The trick is really the syntax here, dealing with that, and that is the hard part. So I guess my question is, like, I can add an echo, but I don't know where that echo is going to go. So I can say, oh, let's echo this out, but that might not indicate where that is going. But you know what we could do is just put it to a file. So echo, I think it's like echo, and then we can pipe it to a file. So echo to a file, Linux. I can't seem to remember how to do that. It's like pipe, we have to pipe it to something. Yeah, file, just like that. Oh, okay, is it? No, that's not it. If you want to have quotes, then you must escape them using quotation, single or double. Oh, I don't know. We'll do one, I guess. Like that. We'll just say /temp, and then this will be wait handle txt, because that's the only way we're going to be able to figure out what's going on here. So we'll go back and tear this down. This will be my last attempt at this. If we can't get this to work, then forget it. But hey, at least we're learning lots about debugging, which I wasn't expecting to do here. So I'll delete this and then we will spin this up here in a second. All right, this was hanging for a while, the deletion, because I had that detached one. So before you pull down your stack, you'd have to delete that detached one or it will hang on the security group, which was a little bit frustrating. We'll go back over to here, and I'm hoping that, again, we will be able to debug this. So we'll go ahead and hit deploy. Hopefully it does not have a problem with the code that I've added to this. And we'll give it a moment here. And so now it should attempt to provision. So we'll go over to here to our change sets, execute our change set, and we will hang out here until we start to see some EC2 instances. At that point, I will go ahead and detach it, and then hopefully in our temp directory for our file, that stuff actually shows up there, okay? All right, so we have some instances spinning up here. I'm gonna make our way over to auto scaling group. And what I'll do is go into instance management, and it should be showing me something here, come on. We'll give this a nice refresh here. I know that they're spinning up. There we go. Here's one. I'll go ahead and detach this one here. Detach. I'll grab its ID so I can find it after I detach it. There we go. We'll go to instances here. I'll search for the instance. Here it is. Call this one detach to, just so I can distinguish it from the old one here. We'll go ahead and connect this. We'll type in sudo su-ec2 user. And now I want to see if our temp file is here. So we'll do temp. And we called that what? Wait conditions, wait handle.txt. And it's not rendering it out. Okay, so I don't know what you think you're doing, ChatGPT, but you gave me something that doesn't work. I think the reason why this isn't working, now that I think about it, is that we're supposed to do a sub on this, because it's not going to substitute the string with the base64 like this. And I guess it's my fault, but yeah, what we'll do is we'll just do a sub on this like this. Okay, hold on. And that's probably the reason why it hasn't been working this entire time. All right, because it would not substitute these things unless we have sub on it. So what we'll do is, I don't want to wait 1,000 years for this to tear down. So I'm going to go back over to here, and I want to terminate this instance. And I'm going to go back over to CloudFormation. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this. And I'm going to go over to our deploy. And I'm going to give this like number 2 so I can just get on with my life. And I'm going to go ahead and deploy this as such. And so there is an issue with the formatting. Oh, you know what? We don't need the colon there. That's probably why. And I think that will work. We'll try this again here. Can be a bit finicky when you're doing this stuff one inside of another. There we go. I'm going to refresh this. We'll let that one delete. We'll let wait conditions 2 proceed forward. We'll execute the change set here. And I'm going to go over to EC2. Now, I have more confidence that this one will work or something will happen, but just because we've been having so much trouble, I think that we will have to kind of hover over here and see what happens. So I'll just wait here for something to appear. Okay. All right, so we see some instances running there. I'm going to go down to auto scaling groups. And which one's my new one? It is number 2 here, so we'll go into this one. And I'm going to go to instance management, and hopefully we see something here. And I'm going to go ahead and choose detach, just so that I have one here, detach. I'm going to grab the instance ID here and detach. And I'll go over to instances, and we will search for that one here. There it is. I'm going to call this one detach 3. And we'll go ahead and connect with this. By the way, I mean, this could have succeeded while we're doing this, but it doesn't say that it has. And we'll go ahead and type in sudo su-ec2 user. And we'll go ahead and cat this out. So this will be temp wait handle.txt. Oh, look, we have something that actually looks like something. Finally. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Whoops. Copy this as quick as I can, make it over to our template into our README here. And so it's suggesting that if we place it on the end here, that it should just work. So if there's something wrong with this command, then that will be our next debug area. And could not open, cannot specify both a wait conditional handle URL and a logical resource ID. Oh, okay, so it's still wrong, but at least we are getting closer to what we want. So I'm going to take out the resource like this and then try this again. I'm also going to wrap this in double quotations because what might happen here is that it might terminate early just because of all the stuff that's in here. And so we'll try this again. I'll paste that again and hit enter. And so here, CloudFormation signaled successfully with S. So this is suggesting that it probably worked. And so I think that we are closer to our solution. I'm going to go back to our deploy here, our template. And I think that what we need to do is we need to wrap this in double quotations. And then we need to take out the wait condition here like this. So I think that is what we need to do, okay? But I'm not sure if this one's going to succeed because it's messed up. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. And just to keep things moving along, we're going to go ahead and call this 3. It would be really nice if we could see what we're doing with the stuff here, but go back here. And so this one, yeah, we have the doubles on this one. Yeah, and so we'll go ahead and execute this. And for this one in particular, I'm going to wait, and this is the one I'm hoping that is just going to work because it's so close to being in the correct format. All right, so we'll wait here and be back in just a moment, okay? All right, there we go, and it worked. So yeah, that was a lot of debugging for a means to which... Anyway, the point is that was long and tiring for me. I'm not sure how tiring it is for you. If you just watch the video, then that is much easier for you. But yeah, it is done. And so we'll go ahead and delete that. Wait conditions is just one of the ways that we can check. The other one is the creation policy, which is what is recommended, as wait conditions are not always consistently great. Just make sure that if you are not able to delete your instances or these stacks, that if you have a detached one, make sure you shut it down because it will hang on the security group because it won't be able to tear down the security group if it's in use by another instance that is detached, okay? So yeah, there you go. And before we just move on, I just want to make sure instances are shutting down. And if there's any lingering ones, just double check that there. And I'll save this awesome solution, wait conditions, for people in the future. And we'll see you in the next one, okay? Ciao.